All right, I got 11:02, so why don't we get cracking? I'm Dan Prue, the General Manager for the Greater Vernon Chamber of Commerce. Happy to have everybody join us today. Certainly, we're hearing as a number one issue from our members in the business community is dealing with the labor shortage and finding creative ways to hire new employees and find them. Obviously, you're competing for the same labor market here and dealing with those challenges. So obviously, we want to help you find ways to fill that labor gap you might be experiencing. And in order to do that, we're happy to have James Weir with us today. So James, just to give everybody a little bit of background here, I got a little introduction for you. So specializing in business immigration, James Weir works with employers, workers, entrepreneurs, business investors, and their families. His focus is on helping people understand the process and making it as straightforward as possible. As a regulated Canadian immigration consultant, a CPA, and a CGA, James can share strategies with employers to help both the business and immigration process. So James, I will leave the presentation in your capable hands. And just to let everybody know, you can ask questions via the chat or the Q&A if you like, and we'll hopefully get around to those questions nearing the end of the presentation. So James, I'll leave it to you, my friend. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Dan. First of all, we would like to humbly acknowledge with honor and respect and that we are deeply grateful to be playing on the ancestral and traditional territories of many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people across Canada. My name is James Weir, and I'm just new. I hate to say I'm new to this Zoom thing, but I'm new to the presentation part of it. My name is James Weir. I am the owner-operator of James Weir Immigration Services. Like Dan said, I'm a regulated Canadian immigration consultant, CPA, raised in Vernon, attended Fulton and Vernon Secondary. It was at the time you had to do two schools. Attended the University of Victoria, BCIT in financial management, and I've been self-employed since 2005. So I get what it is to be looking for people. Immigration is a key to economic recovery. Our current government has indicated that this is the direction that they want to go in Canada. We've added 401 new permanent residents. That's the target for 2021, and then to increase that in 2022. Just by a comparison or a little maybe point of interest, Vernon in 2018 was about 42,000 people. So that's a fair number of new people to welcome to Canada, and it's a fairly large task to undertake. Some of the immigration stakeholders, there's a lot of acronyms in my world. Some of them only have one letter difference and the order's different, but regulated Canadian immigration consultant or a lawyer, that is generally who you would deal with as in terms of a professional. There are a number of people out there who act as what is considered to be a ghost consultant. They don't have any regulated knowledge or play by the rules, basically. We are regulated by the Immigration Consultants of Canada, Regulatory Council, and we deal with Immigration, Refugee, and Citizenship Canada, Service Canada, and the local communities. My practice focuses, like Dan indicated, on business immigration, entrepreneurial immigration, and basically economic and community development at heart, really. So I guess why you're here today is to look at whether foreign workers are really the missing piece for you in your business. There are three different general streams. We have seasonal workers. We hear about these guys in the news a lot. People who come to Canada also on a temporary basis, both professional and trades. So they're not here to move or become Canadian citizens. They're just here to work. We also have permanent residency, which are more permanent people wanting to move their families and themselves here and become Canadian. So those are the three main streams. There's some advantages to employers to look at foreign people. The process is a little bit longer, but you do get someone who's committed to your organization for 2 years as their work permit is specific to you, the employer, through the federal programs. This gives you access to worldwide experience and some very determined people who are obviously looking to better themselves, and they're usually fairly energetic and, enjoy working in their chosen fields. So we have to really break down the immigration process into its key components being federal, or sorry, business and family. Today we're going to look at the business side of it. We're not going to really look at the family side of it. The federal program generally involves a labor market impact assessment, or an LMIA. I'm sure you've heard people talk about these things. We'll explain that a little bit. People who are coming on a permanent basis enter into what is called the express entry stream or pool. We also have help from the provincial government through the provincial nominee programs. We also have the ability for entrepreneurs and startup visa people to come to Canada and start their own new business. We also have business investment, and that specifically relates to people coming to Canada, buying a business, and becoming involved in the economy. There also is a way to come through a number of Canada's free trade agreements. If you wanted to relocate a business to Canada, you can do that potentially through free trade. You can do intercompany transfers. That's just a whole other side to this that we're not really going to touch on today. One of the most interesting things is the community and the pilot programs that we see the government moving towards in Canada. I think it's a great thing because they're letting local communities have a say in who they think is important in local business. The one that is in Vernon is the Rural and Northern Immigration Pilot Program. It's run by the North Okanagan Community Futures. We also have the Global Talent Stream through Accelerate Okanagan, and you have an excellent knowledgeable person by the name of John Parrott, who just started working for the city of Vernon. So I'm sure he'll be enthusiastic and very willing to help. We also have the BC Tech Pilot, which is now the BC PNP Tech, which looks for specific high-skilled positions. There are a number of positions that are listed through that program. So there really are a number of different ways to come to Canada. Again, we won't be touching on spousal sponsorship, family sponsorship, student immigration, or the refugee process. Those are all just not on the cards today because we don't have time. So what is your best option? Looking at the LMIA process or the federal process, a provincial nominee program, or a pilot program. These are all very confusing and very distinct programs, and they can be often overlap and kind of difficult to get your head around because there's just so many of them and there's so many acronyms. So let's look at the LMIA process to start with, because it's the big boy in town. It covers all of Canada. There are 8 different streams within this program. You can be a high wage person, which just means that you're above the high or the provincial average wage. A low wage position if you're below the provincial wage. There are 8 streams. There's obviously high wage, low wage, agricultural worker, seasonal agricultural worker, and then there's 2 other in support of your permanent residency or working in permanent residency at the same time. What does an employer have to do if you're using the LMI process? Well, you have to provide the job and you have to find the right candidate. The temporary foreign worker also has responsibilities. They have to be admissible to Canada. There are certain things they can't have. Criminal admissibility around criminality is a problem sometimes. They have to be in good health. We'll talk a little bit about that. So everybody has some responsibility. We have to talk a little bit about processing times and where we are with that. For example, a work permit in the UK is 4 weeks. Australia would be 8 weeks. New Zealand, 12 weeks after you've applied. Mexico is only a week. So it's all over the place. And again, depending on where you're looking for somebody to come from, for them to get a work permit, there are different processing times as well. And there's cost associated with these people. Typically, there's a fee for an application. And if you hire someone to help you, there's also that cost as well. There's a work permit for the temporary foreign worker that they have to deal with. And then there are biometrics and some other smaller fees that have to be paid. The provincial process, not always used. It is out there. It is a great system that allows an employer to identify the key person uh, that they want to employ for their business. They put that person forward to the British Columbia government. The government looks at the individual, assesses them, and then will offer their support to the nomination. There are in-demand occupations that are listed. There's 25 of them, I believe. There are professional and trades listed on that list. Again, the TFW still has responsibilities to answer or to qualify federally, the criminality, the medical, and all those sorts of things. In British Columbia, we're looking at about 7,500 PNP invitation slots this year that the government is allowing the province to recommend these people to or for permanent residency and immigration. It's a point-based system. When you're coming through the PNP, there's age, income, location, work experience, education, and there's always language requirements. Depending on the type of job, they can vary, with professionals obviously needing a larger command of the English language. Provincial government is saying it's a 2 to 3 month processing time for this program at the moment. And with the COVID environment, that is changing. Okay, the pilot programs. These are the interesting ones in my mind. The Rural Northern Immigration Pilot offered by Community Futures, or working with Community Futures, is a really interesting new type of pilot that is allowing communities to have a say in who they want to come to the community to help it grow, because the people on the ground know what they need, is the idea. The BCP Tech Pilot, again, provincial nominee program, and the Global Talent Stream through Accelerate Okanagan looks for very specific people. The Rural Northern program, apparently in Vernon, we have about 70 approved employers who are looking, who have entered. Their 56 recommendations have been issued since it started. Managerial role, trades, healthcare, barbers, someone I don't personally use, accounting, marketing, it's all over the place. But the process is working. I think there's a little bit of confusion perhaps, or a little bit of a delay because of COVID. We're all trying to get through this, but it's definitely affected the immigration process. Temporary foreign worker, the person you're going to look to hire, they have certain responsibilities to get through the screen to get into Canada. So, I mean, you might find the ideal candidate, but they might have some other issues lurking in the background. They might have criminality. They could have be an excessive demand on the healthcare system. Hopefully not, but hopefully they have the skills you need. If they're a regulated trade, they have to have all of that accredited. They have to pass some language requirements. And again, education and certification is key. Canadian immigration system is a point-based system. So it's important to understand that for the federal program, you have to get so many points out of 167 just to get into the pool. Now, once you're in the pool, there's a comprehensive ranking system that there's 1,200 points that the person has to get. So that's just to get in the pool. But that's for more the permanent person. And I know what we're looking at today are people that are perhaps more readily available and being of that temporary nature, or perhaps the permanent nature. That's something that you have to discuss and decide. Again, education, experience, language, age, and a job offer. A job offer is key for a lot of these programs. They get you all those extra bonus points and shoot you right at the ladder to be accepted, or to get you into the point range that's being issued invitations. So express entry, you'll hear people talk about express entry a lot. Express entry is really just a collecting tool for immigration that collects all the different candidates for different programs. That could be the Canadian Experience class, the Federal Skilled Worker class, or the Federal Skilled Trade class. What express entry does is it screens candidates and then it ranks them. and then the system will come along and issue invitations. In a COVID environment, the invitations for most of these programs haven't been as frequent as we would like to have seen. The government is focusing on the Canadian Experience class right now, which deals with people already in Canada and already working. So this year we've had 27,000 invitations approximately for the Experience class to date, which is kind of what the government is focusing on. It makes sense. The people are here. We don't have to deal with them traveling and quarantining and all those things. Even that's changing, I saw today. So we've not seen a lot of movement in the other ones. December of last year, there was one for federal skilled worker, federal skilled trade in August of 2020. And the provincial nominee still continues to move along. So the two that are working right now are the Experience class and the PNP. So what does all this cost? We have to consider that you as an employer, it's pretty hard to wrap your head around the non-fixed costs. There's your time, there's government fees, advertising the position, finding the right candidate, and more time when you have to re-advertise. For the candidate, they're also investing in this process. So I think you're getting the potential to have a longer term employee because they're investing in a work permit, they're moving their life, they're going through a medical process, they're doing biometrics, and they could even be going for their permanent residency or citizenship. Potential hurdles that we have and we see. Everybody is subdivided by a national occupation code. So whatever your position is that you're advertising, they try to put it into this NOC or a national occupation code. It's a 4-digit code that was developed by Employment and Social Development Canada and Statistics Canada. It's being used by immigration, so it's not a perfect fit. So they don't always have the perfect NOC code or the perfect job description. So we often get into a blended NOC, and that's where the expertise of a professional will help you to deal with that. Again, other potential hurdles, I can't stress this enough, admissibility, education, and language of the person you're trying to employ. Again, for you, they're record keeping a commitment for up to 2 years. You might find an employee, you think it's perfect, and it's not, and you've committed to a 2-year contract. So why you would work with us? We're licensed and regulated. We have up-to-date information on the programs. I'm always reading up on this stuff. Every day there's a myriad of emails to follow up with. We help to offer direction, the best way to proceed. We're constantly monitoring the process so there are no missteps, no deadlines that go by, and we make sure everything arrives on time. We live and we're invested in this community as a local-based business and a longtime Vernonite, now living, unfortunately, in Kelowna, or fortunately. I get it. And this is what we do. We focus on immigration. We'll help you decide the best process, whether it be a federal LMIA process, a provincial nominee program, or a pilot program. They're all very different and they have a lot of similarities. It's knowing how best to fit the candidate that you want or the position you're trying to fill into an existing system. So how do we start? Well, there's a complimentary introductory consultation for chamber members if you want to take advantage of that. Normally it's a $350 kind of fee to have the initial consultation, but we're offering that to everybody. We're going to help you identify the ideal candidate. And then we'll investigate how to find the ideal candidate. You know, it's not an easy thing to recruit internationally. There are some requirements. Retaining a professional is probably one of the best ways to start. And the last thing is you have to start the process. It's intimidating. It can be intimidating. It's a worthwhile process. It can take a little bit of time, but I think the employee you get is much more dedicated to you. There's my contact information. I've probably raced through this because I'm not a PowerPoint type person. I do much better in person. But what I'm also really interested to hear are your questions. I can try and answer general questions. Case specific ones, they might require us to go offline and follow up later. With that, I'm going to turn it back to Dan.
Hey, thanks so much, James, for that information. And obviously, there's a huge opportunity for those of you who are on the line to get some of your questions answered. Maybe you've already tried to go through some of these processes and there were hurdles. Maybe you faced issues or have just relevant questions in regards to the immigration process as it is. So yeah, fill the chat box or the Q&A with your questions, and we'll try to get them answered with James here. And make the process a little bit more clear for you. Even just let us know about the challenges that you're facing at the moment.
I would be really interested to hear the sectors that Vernon feels, and maybe you can answer this, Dan, that Vernon is looking to expand, or where you see the future of Vernon in different sectors growing.
Yeah, I think this, the labor gap is across the board right now. Everybody seems to be experiencing some form of issue with that, which makes this topic obviously super relevant. Krista says she's been reluctant to start this process because of the housing issues. We are in need of seasonal workers for housekeeping, landscape, and kitchen.
That I can't speak to the shortage of housing in Vernon. I know that is always an issue. It's an issue everywhere. From an economic standpoint, I have my opinions about the economy, and everybody seems to be buying a house and moving from Vancouver. So it is difficult to comment. I mean, if you're bringing a seasonal agricultural worker, then there are some requirements around those programs to provide housing. If you're looking to employ your own person in a smaller business, that would be your responsibility, or not responsibility, but to help find suitable accommodation, or that might be something you've negotiated with the new person or your foreign worker.
Yeah, certainly that's a relevant concern, though, Krista. You want to be sure that somebody that you're bringing over can sustain themselves and potentially their family with what they're making here, and affordability seems to be rising, which is creating part of this problem in the first place.
There are some requirements around permanent immigration through the Express Entry program with respect to funds available, for sure. And generally, as a general rule, they look for 6 to 10 months of funds to support themselves while they get settled. But finding the ideal house is difficult. And as a until you're a permanent resident, there are tax issues around buying a house. So my recommendation is always to rent and make sure you're in the right neighborhood first. And secondly, to wait till have your permanent residency status to purchase a home if that's your intention to stay longer.
Yeah, and maybe there's the opportunity out there to create some employee housing within Predator Ridge to encourage some people to come out there and work. Just throwing it out there as an idea. Any other questions or comments in regards to the presentation or immigration in general as ways to fill the labor gap you may be experiencing?
It's such a broad field, it's hard to know where to start, and a lot of times.
Maybe that's a good question. Like where to start, James? Is it just reaching out to you, or?
Yeah, I would say reaching out. And I mean, with an initial consultation, even if you're just trying to figure out where to start or whether this is the right thing for you, that's kind of what the initial consultation does. That could take the form of a phone call with us. It could be a face-to-face meeting over a cup of coffee, appropriately distanced. It could be anything. I mean, realistically, you have to ask questions to make the right decision. And I think it's a good opportunity for chamber members to start to ask those questions. You know, you need to plan it using this type of system. Planning in advance is critical, and that can be very difficult in a challenging time like this, where we know that COVID keeps hitting, especially the service industry and everybody. So it's kind of hard to plan, but maybe understanding the options that you have will help you to do that.
Yeah, thanks, James. Krista says thanks, and she agrees on the points and appreciates this presentation and found the explanation of various areas helpful. We have a question from Catherine from the city of Vernon, and she says, how does the government deal with organizations that are looking for professional workers with certifications and degrees that would be different for individuals coming from other countries? So i.e. Recognition of credentials.
Yeah, there's when you have certain professions have to have, let's take the trades, for example, we have red seal and gold seal. If your trade is listed as a one of those trades, you have to have everything accredited. That can either be done, your education is accredited through a process, and then often your trade certification is additionally recognized or certified from that specific licensed trade. For professionals, like for example, a doctor, you have to go through the Canadian College or Provincial Doctors of BC to become accredited and receive your interim license or provisional license, and then you're able to work and practice in Canada and in British Columbia. Everybody's a little bit different, unfortunately. And there are some trades or professions out there that, for example, an engineer, you can come and work under another professional engineer, and although you're accredited in your home country, you're not accredited here, and you're able to start work under the supervision of another professional and work towards becoming certified in Canada. So it's really all over the board, and that's another point to an initial consultation, is it helps you walk through that sort of what's needed and how can I best fit this person into it. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, was that helpful, Catherine? Yeah, thank you. Any more questions or concerns, issues, maybe an experience you've had that you can bring up?
I mean, what's the local market like trying to find people right now? I was following a post of somebody online who had a number of people apply for a job and not qualified, not having the experience or any relevant knowledge to the position. Dan and I were talking about this before we started, how some people seem to want to apply for jobs without even having a resume these days. And just how the process has changed so much.
Yeah, I'm sure people are dealing with all different kinds of experiences in terms of the hiring practices and who's applying for jobs with relevant experience or not. James, not to put you on the spot, but I have a bit of a question. Like, what is something perhaps that the government at any level could change in regards to the immigration process that might make it easier for either the immigrant immigrating or for employers?
I think the government's already done that. I mean, it's been recognized that Canada has essentially a negative birth rate. We're going backwards. We have a number of people who are looking to retire. We also have, I suspect, some fairly large bills to pay post-COVID. So immigration has been seen or recognized as a potential aid to that and help with these problems. So realistically, the government, by introducing these pilot programs, the northern one in Vernon and rural one particularly, I think is what we're going to see in the future, which is more community-based direction in their own immigration needs. And I think that the government has recognized that already. I mean, when we first started with immigration, it was a federal process that was something that was regulated from afar, and there was nobody even in the area. So now we have people in the area who are able to advocate for employers who are able to seek an advocate once they find the right person. And the other thing that really helps, I think, with immigration is the availability of social media. I mean, everybody looks you up on Facebook before they, or on the internet before they talk to you these days.
That's something to be cautious of, for the rest of us as well.
Well, I mean, and how that relates, I mean, I think it relates to the community advertising itself.
Right.
Like you have to make, if where you are is attractive, people will want to come. And I think really creating the demand and having people wanting to come who are qualified people wanting to come is critical to the success of any immigration program. It's because you'll always have people who aren't qualified who are looking to improve their life, and that is sometimes unfortunate and heartbreaking. But what specifically employers are looking for, that's something that you sort of need to build up that inventory of people applying across the board. I understand that the program in Vernon, there are a number of people who have applied, and the number I heard was somewhere around 1,600 people have submitted their resumes to the system. So those would be people that could be readily available to employers who are working with the program. So.
What's something maybe unexpected that employers deal with after they bring somebody such as a temporary foreign worker or an immigrant to come work for their organization that maybe they weren't prepared for?
Well, hopefully the criminality's been ironed out and there's no history there. The medical, because most people have to undergo a medical, that's generally not a problem. There are just a number of social issues. People find it very hard to uproot their families to the extent that the immigration system gives you extra points for people who have adaptability factors, which are family living in the same province, in the same city, who are able to offer support to new arrivals. If you're coming by yourself or with your family, it can be a very isolating process. Mm. So I think that's probably the challenge that pokes its head up every so often, is just trying to have your kids assimilate or yourself assimilate, and just starting a new life, really.
Yeah. So we got another question that came in here from Perla. I hope I pronounced that all right. Excuse me, are you able to take cases to get new LMIs for agricultural workers if they live a working place for suffering abuse? How long would the process be?
If you're dealing with those specific issues, and there's an entire process that deals with people who are a TFW, a foreign worker who is here, who is suffering abuse, and that's not something that I have a lot of experience with, fortunately. There are some associations that are available, and Dan, maybe you could connect us later, and I can kind of answer that question more directly rather than, because there's just some referrals that need to happen, I think.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I'm not seeing any. Oh, she says thank you. I'm not seeing any more questions come in at this moment. Maybe James, if you could go back a slide just so people can see your contact information again quickly. Again, if you want to reach out to James to perhaps begin this process or get a little bit more clarity on what direction would benefit you, please do so. Or if you want to ask him a question that maybe you didn't want to address to the group as a whole and you wanted to talk about a little bit more privately, of course, James is more willing to answer your questions. We have recorded the presentation, so we'll make that available as well as share James's slides as well. I want to thank everybody for attending today. Hopefully we've been able to address some of your issues, and or at least give you a path to continue to do so. And of course, I want to thank James for his time and knowledge and expertise and sharing it with everybody today. So thank you so much, James. We really appreciate it. With that being said, of course, we'll let everybody go and get back on with your day. And of course, if you need anything else or experience any more issues, feel free to reach out to us here at the chamber, and hopefully we can make life a little bit easier for you. Thank you again for your membership. It's greatly appreciated. Bye, everyone.
Have a good day.
Bye, James.